Welcome to the Discover Solutions Show, Autoimmune Warriors embracing joy each and every day. Join Ryanne and Dr. Pat as they address the good, the bad, the ugly, and most importantly, the joyful. Not only will you get tips, tricks, and tools to help you embrace your wellness journey, but they will share the experience with you. Tune in to explore the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional facets of having autoimmune. You'll learn unique tools to help you maximize your life. Do not put your life and your joy on hold until you feel better. Feel better now by putting your life and joy first. Stay tuned. It all starts now.
I'm Dr. Pat. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We got a powerhouse show for you. But before I get going, I want to just say up front, if you want to find out about anything that we're talking about, just go to discoversolutions.net. Just go to the website, Ryanne's website, discoversolutions.net. Today, we're taking on a topic that I'm telling you, it's so important. Calling all autoimmune warriors to feed their souls. Ryanne, let's come out of the gate with this, because one of the things I was saying to you while we were waiting to come on is the word overwhelm now has showed up in more and more coaching calls, meetings, whatever you want to talk about. It is a word that I don't know why it's catching on, but it explains where people are. What is causing this? Are we just at the point where we've crossed over from how much we could do, like the law of diminishing returns? Is that where we are?
I don't know if it's that. I know when you deal with autoimmune, the inflammation in the brain seems to correlate very closely with overwhelm, and the easy seems just insurmountable. And so with healthy people, I can't speak to that, but with my autoimmune warriors, absolutely. You add that inflammation, and overwhelm is just a daily condition, it seems.
When we're thinking about this, we're really talking about feeding our soul today. So let's talk about that, because I think I did this the other day with myself where I got home, took me an hour and something to get home the other night. A lot of outages here, electricity outages here. We're having a major one today. But one of the things that I realized when I got home, I just didn't have the oomph to get up and go do and play a sport that I normally play. And yet at the same time, it's hard to make that decision because there are so many shoulds. So from where you sit and what you're looking at, what can we do to understand the things we want to do, the energy we have, and how to get between those things that are demands and all the rest of our lives? What are we looking at here?
I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind is to notice, right? This morning, for example, I woke up, it's below freezing here. The pastures, everything was covered with frost, and it was stunningly beautiful. We don't have snow yet. We had some fog just lacing the buttes, and I had to just take a moment and appreciate that. How often do we not even bother looking out the window, or we look out the window and say, oh, darn, look at the weather today. But when we really take in what's around us, it's pretty magnificent. We also need to realize what brings us joy. And I don't mean winning the lottery or going on a cruise. While those things are wonderful, absolutely. What are the little things that bring us joy? And let's maximize those. So many of the things that bring us joy are so simple. I just noticed you took a sip of coffee. I assume it's coffee. And I know
organic.
There we go. Absolutely. And for coffee drinkers, I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee, but I create coffee snobs. I go out and I get the special brands of organic shade-grown coffee, and I buy them the grinder and all the little things so that it becomes this ritual that just their morning coffee is no longer just a morning pick-me-up. It's an experience. It helps feed their soul. These things, I think, are very important, and we need to embrace them and notice what brings you joy.
Yeah. The other thing I love about this is Stefan made the coffee today. And, so we went and, the pot we had in there it just burned itself out. We got a new pot and it's been sitting there and I've been, quote, meaning to fire it up. But thank goodness other people like it. I mean, Stefan got in there, and just made the coffee. I'm drinking it and I'm happy. And there we go. But right, it is the little things. And I want to talk about this for a minute because I don't know what got into me this year. And I actually have to ask my team what they celebrate in the holidays. Not everybody celebrates Christmas. So we want to honor what people celebrate. But I sat there and I said to Linda, if I'm going to be here Christmas, I want to start decorating. I did something that I don't think I've ever done. I started to look online for these outdoor decorations, like the blow up things that you get,
Right.
yeah. And I found, now I didn't buy anything yet, but I found this little joy spot doing that. See, aren't we talking about this? We're not always talking about optimism is important, but we can't always look on the bright side. So for me, I tend to do little things like that kind of make me have a little smile.
Exactly. Exactly. But knowing what those things are and noticing them when they happen. I was in the Middle East for years and everything was brown. And of course, there, I think if you don't learn gratitude, you really missed everything because, a hot shower, I mean, the gift of a hot shower was wonderful. And you run out of things, you don't have things. So learning that gratitude was the biggest gift I received from that. But when I came home, I decided I don't like brown and I wanted to embrace flowers. So I have plants now that flower year round in my home. I love seeing that little pop of color, that pop of life. It brings me joy. They're not high maintenance. They're just flowers. They don't take a lot of work. Of course, with autoimmune, you don't want a lot of work.
Right.
I also got citrus trees and I put them in my bay window, little dwarf ones. There is nothing like the smell of a citrus tree in bloom,
Wow.
especially when it's still winter in Montana.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. Now, Jessica, of course, is from Montana, and I've gotten to know it a little bit. I've certainly was there, and it's just amazing. Is it a place I would ever live? I don't know, but it's the little things we're talking about. See, there's this other thing too with us. I want to talk about this too. We learn to notice things every day and we learn to notice miracles. And I want to talk about the miracles because just go getting that tree, that citrus tree. See, that is a miracle.
Absolutely.
That tree, you can't see. And I don't know that I want to turn the camera. I'll probably make Nat a little crazy. I'll probably have to take a picture of it. But if you came in my room, I mean, you get a sense a little bit of greenery here.
Mhm.
But that's only one plant back there. I got a rubber tree plant that's taller than me over here. I got this one. I got this other one. I got one here. I got two there that people tell me I should get rid of. But why? I grew up in New York City. My dad cemented the backyard. So when people say to me, why you got so much greenery? I grew up with
Brings you
cement.
joy. Yeah.
So what was the good side of the cement backyard that my dad fenced in? I learned how to play handball on cement in the backyard on the fence. But let's talk about these things. There are some things that we don't have access to readily. And I think when we're talking about autoimmune warriors, we have to really look at the things that we can get to quickly and easily, I believe. At least I knew I did. And I think I shared this with you. April 1 of 2004, the only thing I could do from that point on, up until about 10 years later, is continue to buy airtime and do the show. I was doing 14 hours of crust busting and then the Dr. Pat show, and I loved it. I loved it.
Right.
I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't said yes to that in 2003. See, I don't know. I'm almost sitting here now talking with you, and you're the same way. because we have a lot of information, but while you're in it, we have to help people today understand and appreciate some of the things that even autoimmune warriors can appreciate. Don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I learned when I came home that I loved the sound of the birds in the spring. Oh, there's nothing better for me. Well, I realized I could have that. And I have a flight cage now, and I don't know if you'll ever hear him on the show, but I have a flight cage of finches, including a canary that sings gloriously all winter.
Yeah.
And when I wake to that sound of that canary just singing away, I think all is right with the world.
Hmm. If you ever call Kim, you can hear the bird. I think she's got these two big birds, but you can hear them, and they're
Right?
just part. If you're going to do a Zoom call with Kim, the birds they're going to like participate. But those are the things we don't think about. Spending 10 days the first time with my mentor in the desert changed my life in so many ways. So many things we take for granted, right? When the thing was over, we all got in the bus and drove hours to go home. Some of us had to go to the airport, so they gave us a hotel room before we left. Myself and another person were sitting in the lobby, and we're filthy. We have got our giant filthy backpacks. Our boots are just mosquito, any kind of insect bite. I mean, honestly, if you looked at my face, bruises, scratched, dirty, right? Because there's no water out there. And I was talking to my friend, and we're sitting in the lobby. We literally sat in the lobby before we went. I mean, it was just, thinking back now, that was kind of ridiculous. But I said, I don't want to shower. I said, I don't want to shower. And, this was at a time I said, I don't want to shower. I'm afraid I'm going to shower away that experience.
Wow.
And I want us to really hold on to that and ask people, because you know this. You can be part of the autoimmune community, but you're also part of having access to joy. How do
Every
you
day.
help people with that? Ryanne,
Every
let's talk
single
about
day.
what you do to help people like that. What could we do?
Again, I think the biggest thing is to notice. Notice what brings you joy. Don't take those moments for granted. I love it when people decide to do a gratitude journal. And one of the rules for my clients to do a gratitude journal is there's no copy and paste. So there has to be 10 new things every single day. And I teach them, when you start looking at things, when I flip the light switch on, that little plastic switch grants me light. But if it wasn't for the wires in the wall, the fixture, the bulbs, everything, all of those components, the people who brought them here for us, all of those components, we wouldn't have light. So just noticing the miracle of flipping the switch and having light, or I don't mean to be crass, but flushing the toilet and having clean, right? Indoor plumbing, greatest thing ever. So when we start looking at those things that just bring us a moment of joy, the smell of fresh baked bread, the smell of brewing coffee, these things change our perception of life. And these are the things that we want to notice. And then not only notice them in the moment, but say, how can I bring more of that into my life?
Yeah. I was talking to Linda last night, and I want to talk about bringing more into your life. You brought up something interesting, because I woke up this morning, I had electricity, but last night you could see, and what they're calling this is a cyclone bomb that hit Washington. I don't even know what that term is, but it's one of those things that looks like a cyclone, but they can't catch. 77-mile-per-hour winds came out of nowhere. Our
Crazy.
traffic lights went out. Took me an hour and something to get home last night. And when I talked to Linda in the car, I said, oh, here's the problem. We're coming up on the blinking red light. Now, of course, the minute I got to the stoplight that didn't work, it started to work and change green, and there I went. But I said, I'm so glad about where I live in Washington State. And I said, you know what? One of the reasons this is a thing we do. If a stoplight is out or there are four-way stop signs, we know that I sit here, the person on the right goes, then the one across from them goes. And then when they're done, then myself and the other person, and it's like a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
And rarely do you find somebody to go out of what you think the order is. There's just, and I said to her, I'm so grateful I live here. I don't really understand how I got to live here. And I had that moment where I started to get teary-eyed. But we need to help our listeners ask some questions. What does bring you joy? What brings you joy? Ryanne, what did you discover about yourself? I know being where you were, like brown everywhere, like you learned 50 Shades of Brown, right? But then the gratitude. So how do we help our autoimmune warriors and others understand the power in these moments of immense gratitude, even for the simplest things?
I love a gratitude journal exercise. I really do. We're forced to really examine all of our blessings. And I live 35 miles from town. I'm a horse lover, absolutely love horses, but I wouldn't want to have to ride a horse to town every time I needed to go shopping. So I'm so grateful for a car. But what went into that car? Hundreds, if not thousands, of people around the world to bring this together. So I love a gratitude journal exercise where we really start to think about all of those things. But I also love the exercise of noticing that just that little spark. As we notice things, that tends to grow. So as we notice the things that bring us joy, we're going to be practicing that exercise, and we're going to be learning to see more things that bring us joy. And we're going to be recognizing more. We're going to be learning to embrace more. And I think a lot of my clients are very surprised when they start to notice and they realize what does bring them joy, because they took it for granted for so long, or didn't think about how can you have the birds of springtime in your house all year round. They didn't think about how they can shift their world in just little ways.
I love this conversation. So one of the things that I discovered, and apparently my best friend tells me I've always been like this, but let's talk about it because it's small. And, but what I just discovered along the way, just so you know, is I grew up with twinkle lights. I'm neurodivergent. That's a new term. I love that term. My neuro teens that I work with, we're getting t-shirts made. I'm like doing like a logo for it. For the first time, a disability, and I'm going to use that word, levels of disabilities have been given a really cool term. Now, it's not cool, but the term is now something that people can embrace instead of I'm disabled, I'm ADD, I'm this, I'm that. Okay. So what's fun about this is you look at these small things to do, but part of my thing, young age, leave the Christmas lights up all year round. I mean, like a 4-year-old temper tantrum. Do not take the lights down. Leave the bubble lights, because I would get on my rocking horse. That's what they discovered I love. Wooden rocking horse, folks, not an automated throw you bull ride. Little horse in front of the tree staring at the bubble lights. Now, grew older, and people said that's weird. So I stopped doing it. You come into my house now, you will see a tree, white tree up with lights and crystals on it and the reflection. How can we help our autoimmune warriors do something in their lives for what they truly desire and let other people just kind of walk away and let them do the things that are going to bring them joy? because I think we carry such a burden, guilt and shame, and trying to please others, especially if you are in the autoimmune category and you need help. Pleasing others gets to be a problem. So what do we want to say to them?
I was one of the people who I consider myself blessed. I was blessed to be intelligent when I was born. There's nothing I did to deserve that or earn that, or that's genetics. And at some point, because of autoimmune, my brain wasn't working the way it had been. And I was very troubled by this at first. And then I decided, wait a minute. Oops, that was an airhead moment. It's part of my charm. And I started to embrace the idea that these silly little slip-ups were just part of who I was at that point in time, and they were part of my charm. Why can't a Christmas tree year-round just be part of your quirkiness and part of your charm? We embrace the unique so often. If we can embrace it in ourselves, we're going to be so much happier.
It is so funny, though, to be able to sit back and think about it. I mean, let's talk about some of this so y'all can break this down, right? I love the color orange. This is the first year in 3, 6, 9, maybe 9 years. I will tell you, I buy Rogues. I love the Nissan Rogues for whatever reason, and I lease them. And I've had orange, bright orange, bright orange, bright orange. And it was so hard for me not to get an orange Rogue this year. But I orange. So when I go play table tennis, I am always in awe about what people comment about. One, I wear an orange and black Princeton Power Pong shirt, and I have bright orange sneakers. And I didn't know it was such a thing for people, right? I just put them on. I have bright green. I just put them on. But you have to help us and everybody out there that's not really feeling good about themselves to just stand in their power. And if they want to wear orange, wear orange. How do we want to wrap this up and bring this forward for people today to say, I'm going to wear my orange shoes, right?
When February 29th rolled around and I was working and I said, the government put an extra day in the year and I'm going to celebrate it. It's not going to just be another work day. I literally went to the office and I took my shoes off and I had found chicken toe socks. And I sat as my professional psychotherapist in front of all my clients and I crossed my legs and I had my chicken toe socks on. And I said, it's February 29th. Of course, we can do anything we want. I think we all need to wear our chicken toe socks just a little bit more. And not one client left or said I was weird. Everyone giggled and embraced it and made their day. And I had more than one comment of, oh, I need to do that next time. Right? So I think just we need to take the lead and we need to say, it makes me smile. And that's enough. That's enough. If it makes me smile, that's reason enough.
I'm a media coach and media teacher, and I am a little bit different. And so I have a laughing dog. It's battery operated. It's a laughing dog. And I take it to wherever I speak. And before I get out, I put it down, I turn it on, and I let it roll around. And then somebody will walk by it and it'll roll around and it's like laughing. It's got these big eyes. That's what I do to shift from whatever. I was late, blah, blah, blah. I got 2 different shoes. I got to get in front of 9,000 people. So when I do video clips, like the one that I just did for the holiday, I get my dog started, but I forgot to turn it off. I forgot to turn it off. And so I'm starting the video and the dog goes, and you can see the bloopers. And I said, why don't we send this out with the bloopers? Let's send out the message, but let's send out the blooper too. You get a number of different opinions, But here's what I want to say, and I think this is your goal. If you want to work with Ryanne, you want to understand that if you stand in your power, orange shoes, chicken,
Toe
you
socks.
got to send me a picture of the socks, chicken socks, plants, whatever that is, get a hold of Ryanne, because if you are an autoimmune warrior, what has been happening to you is over time, because autoimmune is like they call it chronic, over time, different parts of who you are had a little issue with working properly. And if you were lucky enough to find the right people, you got to stay who you are and better. And Ryanne, that's what you do. And so sometimes you have to make your own decision and say to your team, the bloopers are going out. What's your personal message? What do you want to leave us with? Tell us about upcoming events and tell us about the groups you're forming.
We have a group starting January 2nd, which is perfect timing for anyone who has that autoimmune warrior in their life. What a beautiful Christmas gift. It runs for 12 weeks. We meet every week. Discoversolutions.net is where you'll find it. Also, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to click on the Contact Us. My website goddess managed to get that set up so that you can click on the button and you can make an appointment for a phone call with me for 15 minutes. Doesn't cost you a dime. Please feel free to reach out, but embrace joy every day. You don't know how many tomorrows you have, so you might as well make this one the best.
Go orange sneakers. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Discover Solutions Show, Autoimmune Warriors Embracing Joy each and every day. For more support and understanding that autoimmune can often affect mental as well as physical health, tune in every month on TransformationTalkRadio.com, where Ryanne Stellingwerf and Dr. Pat help you learn to see the positive, the gifts, and the blessings that surround you. Don't put your life and your joy on hold until you feel better. Feel better now by putting your life and your joy first. For more information about Ryanne, visit discoversolutions.net.